In a bright and busy part of Chinatown, the streets were full of color and sound. Red lanterns hung overhead, glowing like little moons. People sold yummy food from carts, and the air smelled like noodles, garlic, and sweet spices. The market was noisy with voices calling out prices, pots clanking, and the sizzle of food being cooked in big round pans and woks. In the middle of all this fun and noise was a small wooden stall where a kind shopkeeper named Arya sold fruits, vegetables, and tiny snacks. Her daughter, Nina, stood nearby, happily shouting, "Hot dumplings! Come try our dumplings!" She smiled big and bright, trying to help her mom sell more food. But something wasn't right today. Suddenly, the fun stopped. A mean man walked into the market. His name was Master Ronan. He was tall and strong, and he ran a nearby dojo, a place where people learn to fight. But Ronan wasn't kind. He used his strength to scare people and take their money. He had a deep, scary voice and wore a shiny robe. His eyes were cold like ice, and he didn't smile. He stopped at Arya's stall. With a loud smash, he hit the counter, and the wood cracked under his fist. The market gasped. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked. "Pay me now," Ronan growled, "or I'll burn your stall down." Arya's hands shook. Her shop ledger, a little book where she wrote down her money, was torn and dirty. She held it close to her chest. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't cry. She looked straight at Ronan, scared but brave. "I don't have the money," she said quietly, "and I won't give you what little I have left." Nina stood behind her mom, her voice shaking. "Leave her alone," she shouted. But her voice was small next to Ronan's roar. Everyone was afraid. The other vendors looked away. Shoppers moved back. No one wanted trouble. They whispered to each other, "Master Ronan is too strong. No one can stop him." Their fear spread through the market like smoke. But someone was watching. His name was Jason Statham. He stood nearby, dressed in a simple jacket, his hands in fists by his side. He didn't say anything yet, but his eyes saw everything. He saw the cracked stall. He saw the torn ledger. He saw Nina's scared face and Arya's brave eyes. Jason was strong and fast, trained in Wing Chun, a kind of kung fu. He had stopped bad people before. He was quiet, but he never let bullies win. As the market held its breath, Jason took one step forward. Ronan turned and laughed when he saw him. "Oh look," Ronan sneered. "The old movie man thinks he's still a hero. What are you gonna do, Mr. Fancy Kicks? Do a flip?" Some of the people in the market laughed. A vendor said, "Go back to the movies, Jason." Another shopper giggled. "He's not a hero anymore." It hurt. The words were sharp like arrows. Jason didn't speak. He just looked down at Arya's ledger on the counter. He picked it up gently. The pages were smudged and torn. But Jason knew what it meant. It showed all the money Ronan had taken from Arya, and Arya from others too. Nina looked up at Jason with big eyes. "Please," she whispered. Jason finally spoke. His voice was calm, but strong like thunder that hasn't rumbled yet. "Back off, Ronan," Jason said. "Leave Arya and her stall alone." The market went quiet again. Even the woks stopped hissing. Ronan stepped forward, smiling like a snake. "Or what?" he asked, his voice mean and teasing. "You'll fight me here? In front of everyone?" Jason nodded. "If I have to." Ronan cracked his knuckles. His helpers, other fighters from the dojo, started to move toward Jason. But Jason didn't back down. He took off his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. The lanterns above swayed. The wind blew gently. The ripped pages of Arya's ledger fluttered in the breeze, like they were calling for justice. Arya's hands clutched her stall. Nina stopped breathing for a second. The crowd waited. Ronan threw the first punch. But Jason was faster. He ducked, spun, and blocked the hit. Then, with a quick move, he tapped Ronan's shoulder and sent him stumbling back. The crowd gasped. The helpers charged forward, but Jason moved like a dance, blocking, flipping, stepping to the side. One by one, the helpers hit the ground, groaning and rubbing their bruises. Now it was just Jason and Ronan. Ronan was angry. He roared and came at Jason with all his strength. He kicked and punched, shouting, "You're nothing! Just an actor. But Jason stayed calm. He moved smoothly, blocking each strike. He didn't shout. He didn't brag. He just fought with purpose, each move careful and strong. Then, with one final spin, Jason landed a perfect kick to Ronan's chest. Bam! Ronan flew back and crashed into a fruit cart. Apples rolled across the ground. The crowd watched in silence. Then someone clapped. Then more people. Soon the whole market was cheering. Jason walked over to Arya. He gave her the ledger. "This proves everything," he said. "It shows how much he took. You can go to the police. He won't hurt you again." Arya's eyes filled with happy tears. Nina ran to Jason and hugged him. "Thank you," she said. The other vendors stepped out from their stalls. They stood around Jason, Arya, and Nina. "We're not afraid anymore," one said. "You showed us how to be brave." Ronan lay on the ground, groaning. His robe was dirty. His pride was broken. The police came soon after, and the helpers were taken away. Ronan was too tired to fight. The market slowly returned to life. The lanterns glowed red above. The stalls opened again. Wok sizzled once more, and Nina called out cheerfully, "Hot dumplings!" Jason stayed for a while, helping clean up the broken pieces of Arya's stall. "You were brave," he told her. "You stood up first. That's what mattered." Arya smiled. "You made it possible." The sun started to set, turning the sky orange and pink. Jason looked up at the lantern swinging gently in the breeze. He nodded once, then walked away quietly, blending into the crowd. The market was safe again. But the story of Jason Statham and the neon market bully would be told again and again. Kids would point at the fruit cart where Ronan fell. Vendors would smile when they saw the ledger in Arya's new stall, now clean and whole. And Nina would say, "That's the day a real hero stood up for us." And Aryabe, somewhere else, in another town or street, another bully would show up. But Jason would be there too, quiet, watching, waiting. Because heroes don't need capes. Sometimes, all they need are kind eyes, strong fists, and the courage to stand up when it matters most. As Ronan's big helper stepped forward, he looked really scary. He was tall, strong, and his fists made loud cracking sounds. He didn't say anything, but his eyes said, "Don't mess with me." The street market became quiet. Shoppers hugged their bags close. The people selling food and toys stopped talking. They used to laugh at Jason Statham earlier, but now they watched quietly. Far away, soft drums played from Ronan's dojo. The sound made everyone feel like something big was about to happen. Nina grabbed Arya's arm. Her hands were shaking. Arya held onto her shop's old book. It was full of notes about how much money she had lost. Statham's paws were still. He looked calm but strong. His heart was burning with the wish to help. His eyes shone brighter than all the glowing neon lights around them. The voice in the story told us everything. Ronan made fun of Statham with his words. But Statham didn't run away. He stood like a bolt of lightning. Everyone listening could feel something important was coming. A fight was about to begin. It could change the market forever. The scary man walked closer. The air felt heavy. It was like a string had been pulled too tight. This could be the fight that would save Arya's shop from Ronan. The street lights flickered. The colorful lanterns hanging above started to dim. Jason Statham bent down near Arya's broken food stand. He picked up a crumpled paper. It was a receipt from her shop book. The paper was old, stained with Arya's tears. It showed how much money Ronan forced her to give every week. This small paper was big proof. Ronan had been stealing from her. The truth was now shining bright like fire. People watching could tell. This would burn away Ronan's control. Statham's body, trained in Wing Chun, tensed. He spoke in a low voice. This is Ronan's grip on her life. He didn't say much, but his words showed there was more behind the scenes. His eyes looked sharp, as if he planned to go to Ronan's dojo and stop him. This little paper could break the chains holding Arya down. The stalls around them creaked. No one moved. Everyone stopped talking. People who were shopping hugged their bags close. Earlier, they had laughed at Statham, but now they were quiet. Something serious was happening. Nina forgot about her dumplings. She stepped forward and said, "He's hurting all of us, isn't he?" Her voice trembled, but it showed she was scared and brave at the same time. She had always smiled before, but now, she was starting to understand how bad things really were. Her big, wide eyes were full of questions. She remembered when she spoke up against Ronan's threats. Her voice joined Arya's. Arya stood still, holding the book. Her face looked tired and scared. The little paper she held was like a picture of how her money, her work, and her dreams had been ruined. The ink on it had smudged, like the hope Ronan had crushed. But now it was also a spark, the start of something big. It made Statham stand up. The crowd whispered. A seller nearby said, "Ronan can't be stopped." But a shopper whispered, "Not anymore." The market was starting to wake up. People were getting braver. The streetlights flickered again. Statham held the paper tightly. It had many dates on it, each one showing how often Ronan had taken money from Arya. These dates were like a map of Ronan's greed. They showed everything. They made Statham ready to fight. The air was filled with the sound of clinking coins and soft drum beats. It felt like something very important was cooking, like justice was getting ready. That small paper wasn't just old paper anymore. It was now like a rope around Ronan's neck. It would help Statham go to Ronan's dojo and break the rules that had hurt so many. This wasn't like a gym with tests. This wasn't like a fighting contest for fun. This was about right and wrong. Everyone is watching Statham now. The people who sold things leaned forward. Shoppers stopped walking. Earlier they had laughed at him. Now they were quiet and serious. It was a big change. They were all holding their breath. Nina grabbed Arya's arm. Her hands were still shaking. "We can't let him ruin us, can we?" she asked. Her voice was scary, but also strong. She was changing. She was becoming someone who would stand up and fight back. Arya didn't move. She still held the book close. Her face showed how tired and sad she was. But she also saw hope now. That paper in her hand was no longer just a list of losses. It was proof. Proof that Ronan was bad and needed to be stopped. Statham had made a promise. And that promise cracked open the fear that had held the market down for so long. The neon lights glowed. The smell of street food filled the air. People could hear the truth in the air, like a wind blowing through them. A storm was coming. It wasn't a storm of rain. It was a storm of justice, and it would come through Statham's strength. The storyteller's voice got louder. The small paper was like fire. Statham's stand was like a strong wind. The fight that was about to come would be brighter than the lanterns hanging above. The market sounds slowed down. The people felt nervous again. They held their bags tightly. The jokes they once made about Statham were gone. His eyes, trained to read enemies, looked at the receipt again. The smudged writing on it was like a message. He would stop Ronan. People watching knew something big was going to happen. Arya's shop would be saved. The dojo's darkness would be broken. The market was like a pot that was about to bubble over with truth. The colorful lights shook. Drums boomed from the dojo. Statham stood tall. His hands held Arya's broken book. The pages inside made his heart feel like fire. He found a scary note too. It had red stains and said, "Pay or suffer," written in Ronan's handwriting. It was hidden inside a seller's box. Another paper had names on it. Names of more people Ronan had hurt. People were losing their money. It was a map of pain. One seller whispered that Ronan had warned them. "Pay or suffer," he had said, with his big helpers standing close by. These papers were sharp like swords. They cut through Ronan's lies and made everyone see the truth. Statham shouted loudly, "Ronan's not just taking money from Arya. He's stealing from the whole market." His words were like a battle cry. His eyes looked at the dojo, ready to go there. The book in his hands was a light to show the way. The people in the market started moving. Some slammed their tables. Some whispered nervously. Some closed their stalls and held onto their money. The air was thick with the sounds of fear, coins dropping, shutters closing. One person whispered, "He's got us all." Another said, "Statham might be the one to stop him." Nina stepped forward again. Her dumplings were forgotten. Her eyes were big. We can't let him destroy us, can we? She asked again. Her voice wasn't just scared now. It was brave too. She remembered all the time she had wanted to say no to Ronan but was too afraid. Her words made the story more important. Arya still held her book. Her face showed all the pain she had felt. The note, "Pay or suffer," was like the chain that held her down. But Statham had promised to break that chain. The air felt tight. People whispered louder. Sellers slammed their boxes. Shoppers gripped their things. No one laughed at Statham now. His name was no longer a joke. His strength was real. The lights flickered. The drums from Ronan's dojo got quieter. Everyone was waiting for what would happen next. The storyteller asked, "How would you fight Ronan's lies with the proof Statham found?" The question made people think. They looked at the book full of names. They remembered what the vendors had said. Everyone could feel the story building up to something big. Their voices joined together in the rising storm. Statham held the book tight. He looked at the dojo's broken walls. "There's one more piece," he said. He didn't explain what it was. But now, everyone leaned in. They were waiting. No one spoke. The crowd held its breath. One seller squinted. A shopper stopped whispering. The market wasn't just a street with food now. It was a place where the truth was burning bright. This wasn't like a dark garage or a sweaty gym. This was real life. And it was time for something to change. The storyteller shouted, "The proof is like a dragon's fire." The market shook. Statham had made his stand. A battle was coming. The scary note, the pay or suffer one, was now Ronan's own trap. The list of names was proof of his crimes. The vendors' whispers were louder than shouts. Nina's big eyes, Arya's shaking hands, and Statham's strong stare made a picture. A story of justice that was just beginning. The people weren't scared anymore. They slammed their tables. They spoke up. They looked serious. This wasn't like before when they had laughed at Statham. Something had changed. The lights flickered one last time. The drums got quiet. The market was ready. Arya's shop would be saved. Ronan's dark shadow would be broken. This was the place. The neon-lit market. The colorful lanterns. The beating hearts. This was where Jason Statham's proof would light up the truth. And everything was about to change. Jason Statham was a strong and brave man. One day, he walked quickly into a place called the Shadow Dojo. This dojo was run by a bad man named Master Ronan. The air inside felt heavy and quiet. Little lanterns above moved back and forth. Outside, the market lights glowed, but far away, you could only hear a quiet buzzing sound. Jason went into Ronan's office. It was dark and spooky. He used his smart, fast hands to open a locked drawer. Inside, he found something very important. A notebook. It had messy writing from Master Ronan. It showed that Ronan had been making people pay money when they didn't want to. It was a very bad secret. Now Jason had proof. This notebook was strong proof, like a sword made of truth. It showed that Ronan was cheating the shopkeepers. It was the beginning of the end for Ronan. Jason turned around and walked back to the dojo's big room. The walls were old and broken. Ronan stood there with a big, scary guard. But Jason didn't wait. He shouted, "Your tricks are over, Ronan." His hands moved super fast. Like lightning. He blocked the guard's attack and hit his hand. The guard dropped his sharp blade, and it clattered to the floor. Ronan looked scared. His eyes jumped around, looking for a way out. His fancy silk robe looked loose now, like he had already lost. His bad plan was falling apart like crumbling cookies. People watching couldn't look away. It was like the best action movie ever. Jason held the notebook up high and shouted, "This fight isn't just for Arya. It's for every shopkeeper here." All the market people came running into the dojo. They gasped when they saw the notebook. They cheered when they saw Jason. They weren't scared anymore. "Ronan is finished," they shouted. Shoppers came forward, their hands in the air, shouting happy words. Before, they had been quiet and afraid. Now they were loud and strong. Nina, a little girl with shiny eyes, stood beside Arya. She held her hands tight together. She didn't speak, but her face showed everything. She was proud and amazed. Everyone watching could feel what she felt. Arya, a kind lady who owned a shop, was the one who asked for help first. Now her wish was coming true. People shouted, "No more threats." They slammed their hands on their stalls and cheered, "Justice for Arya!" They were saying, "We want good things now, not bad ones." The dojo's flags shook from all the noise. Jason moved like a storm. His fast hand strikes and strong blocks had stopped the bad guard. The truth in the notebook was like a big sword that cut Ronan's bad plan to pieces. The market started to feel like a happy place again. It was not like a sweaty gym or a scary fight club. It was like a warm kitchen where everyone shared. Ronan whispered, "It wasn't just me," but he looked afraid. His eyes moved like he was hiding something more. He used to laugh at Jason and say he was just a silly old movie star. But now, Ronan looked like a small mouse. Arya had once cried and asked for help. Her tears had started this big adventure. Now, her dream of safety was coming true. The neon signs in the market shined again. The lanterns swayed gently. The sound of coins clinking and people walking filled the air. Jason's hard work and bravery brought justice. Everyone could feel it in their hearts. But then Jason looked around, very serious. He said, "Someone else is behind all this." Ronan wasn't working alone. He looked into the dark corners of the dojo. Was someone else hiding? Was there another secret boss? The crowd went quiet for a moment. People looked at each other. Their hands squeezed tighter. Their eyes grew wide. Was there still danger? The story wasn't done yet. Then a voice said like a big drum, "Truth is like a fireball in the sky." Ronan's power was burning away like ashes. The notebook Jason held shocked everyone. It was like a thunderclap that told the truth. The vendors, the people with shops, cheered and stood around Arya to protect her. They were no longer scared. They were brave together. Their hands in the air, their hearts full of fire. It wasn't like any cheer before. It was special. Nina's shiny eyes and Arya's strong, steady hands made everyone feel safe and strong. Jason's sharp eyes looked straight ahead. This was a story where good wins and bad loses. The people cheered and clapped and yelled. "No more Ronan," some cried. "Arya is free," others shouted. Their voices weren't like the mean laughs Ronan used to hear or the sacred whispers from before. These voices were brave and loud. The shadows in the dojo were gone. The air shook from the sound. The drums stopped. The neon lights were glowing with hope. Jason had used his special fighting moves, called Wing Chun, like a wild wind. He stopped Ronan's bad plan. The notebook was the spark. It lit the fire in everyone's hearts. This story was made to remember that fire. There were no tricks, no fake fights, no shady clubs. It was all to honor Arya's bravery. The crowd shouted louder, cheering for Arya. Nina smiled beside her. Arya stood tall. Her notebook, once full of worry, now meant victory. The vendors held hands. The shoppers clapped and chanted Arya's name. They started fixing their stalls and building them better. This was not like the angry shouts in Ronan's dojo. These were kind cheers. They were happy and proud. People yelled again, "Arya is free. No more Ronan." These voices were loud and kind and full of love. They were nothing like the ones that used to make fun of Jason. They were voices that believed in him. Arya smiled with her hands steady. Her notebook was now a hero's symbol. Nina, bright-eyed, joined the chants. Their hope was bright like the market's lights. Everyone watching could feel that hope. It warmed them like sunshine. Jason had helped make this happen. But it was Arya's strength and Nina's heart that kept it going. Now, people wanted to know, what would Jason do next? How would he keep helping others? The story asked the people watching, if you believe in standing up for others, press that like button and share this story. That message connected to the cheers and the hand-holding in the market. It was a big shout to keep the fire of truth going. Honesty shined like a star. Jason stood and looked around. His heart is full of feelings. He saw people smiling. He saw shops being built again. He saw lights glowing. He said with a strong voice, "I'm just a man." But Arya's fight showed that justice never gives up. His eyes looked again at the notebook. Its torn pages were a sign of Arya's bravery. She had once asked for help with a tear in her eye. Now she stood strong. A kind vendor gave Jason a small paper. It said, "Thank you for saving us." Jason held it gently. That little note helped keep the story alive. It was a warm light in the new, happy market. The market used to be a place full of fear. Now it was a safe, shining place of hope. Vendors held hands, shoppers clapped, and people said Arya's name with pride. The stalls were built again. They were a gift to Jason's bravery. This was more than a fight. It was a story of courage and truth. Arya stood tall. Her notebook held tight. She smiled. Her hands did not shake. Nina stood beside her, proud and bright. People shouted, "Arya is free! No more Ronin!" Their chants were different from the scared whispers before. They were strong and full of love. They believed in justice. The market was bright with lights again. It was warm and safe. Jason had made a big difference. His strong heart and fast hands stopped the bad guy. The notebook with messy writing had become a symbol of truth. Now the story was shared with the world. People would remember that some fights are loud, but the fight for justice is always strong and quiet in our hearts. Jason looked into the light. The people cheered. Arya was safe. And the market was filled with hope. If you like this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.